Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Last Federation, a 4X turn-based game developed by Arkan Games. The game has some combat elements in it, but it is otherwise considered a very diplomatic heavy game. But it is a very deep concept, and it's a good deal of fun as well. I've already played the game a little bit. Not too much actually. This will be my first real full run through, but I played roughly 30 minutes, 45 minutes of the game, and I really did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. The Last Federation just had a new expansion come out, the Lost Technologies expansion. It was released a few days ago and adds some new things to the game, as well as a massive patch that just came out, the 3.0 patch, which changes up a few things and provides a better overall experience for gameplay. But that's enough about the game. We'll actually see a kind of a story and everything and get a good feel for what's going on here, so I won't talk too much about it as much as I want to, because the story is pretty interesting. But we're going to go with an advanced start here. Some of these settings here just change a few things. Strategic difficulty is just the baseline pretty much, you know. Not much to add. The benefit that you gain from space power techs is 1.10% normal in betrayal mode only. There's different modes and stuff. I didn't mention that. So there's different types of modes that some of the expansions provide. The Betrayed Hope gives you the betrayal and invasion, and then the Lost Technologies gives you a tech race, and then the standard, which is the Federation formation, because your goal in the game is to form a federation. But I'm already getting too far ahead of myself. We're just gonna be doing the standard Federation formation gameplay, as that is what the game was basically built around, and so that's what I want to showcase here. We'll just go for normal, and for combat difficulty normal. Don't want to get too out of hand here. Solar map background we'll keep the same. Crash land, so there's all sorts of different races in the game, and each planet that you land at can kind of change up what your ship is like, what kind of guns you start out with, what kind of special abilities that you start out with, and can overall have a pretty massive change in the game. So the standard is usually the Acutions, but I think we're just going to go with a random, because that'll make things a little bit more interesting. Starting year 0, that's fine. We can go with an Iron Man mode, which changes up the save a little bit. I won't worry about that, just because sometimes during recording I make mistakes, and by mistakes I mean like I crash the game or something. So just in case we do need to pull up a save for some reason because I crashed the game, then we'll leave the Iron Man mode off. Observer mode is just so you can watch everything play out behind you. We're not going to skip the intro story because I want you guys to kind of see what it's all about. I will skip the tutorial and enable all game mechanics from the start, since I do already have a little bit of gameplay experience, enough to know basically how to get into the game and start. I don't really want the tutorial kind of bothering everybody, including bothering myself. RCI completely. I'm not going to worry about any of these. Extra dangerous alliances, independent betrayal minions. These are for some different game modes. And then permadeath. We're actually going to keep permadeath off for this. I know I play a lot of games with permadeath, but I don't want to die within the first 10-15 minutes in. I'd actually like to, you know, try to form the Federation and whatnot. So yeah, we'll just stick with that. So we're going to start the game, and here we are. So I'll read all this out here. I am the last of the murdered race of Hydrals. We took to the stars and shot down the manned launches of everyone else. My countrymen were the dictators of the solar system, so we kind of had it coming. Yes, that is me above, and you and me are me. This is our story. So this is us here. We're a Hydral. Pretty badass looking, if I do say so myself. I was a sole survivor of a surprise attack by 2 other races thanks to a renegade mission I undertook, betraying the other Hydrals to bring spacefaring technology to our potential rivals. Turns out when you strap rockets to a moon, you can catch even the dictators off guard. My ultimate goal? The creation of a peaceful united federation of planets. Only then can we be safe from the kinds of atrocities my race committed, and the kinds that were committed against us. Naturally, upon my crash landing at this planet, I was placed in captivity. Having no concept of my strength, they did not realize that I was merely waiting. I waited for years. Stardate First Proto 3000. My dream of a universal federation is as alive as ever, and now the Thoraxians have finally gotten themselves into orbit. After spending so much time with me as a peaceful captive, they were ill prepared for my escape. I have commandeered the first prototype exterminator, and now the Thoraxians are in hot pursuit. The Thoraxians are probably the worst planet we could have started off on. The Thraxians do not have a substantive space fleet yet, particularly now that I have stolen their flagship. But they are vicious, they are angry, and I am sure their queen is already plotting her revenge. I have to be extremely careful. So the Thraxians are like a hive mind, essentially. We'll get more into that later, but here they come. I outclass this force so severely that it would be almost impossible to lose, so now is a good time to put my ship through its paces. But I still have to be careful. If they manage to take out my ship, I will be just as dead now as later. So, yep, the Thraxians are a hive mind, essentially. They're like an alien race that's very evil, very warlike. They have a queen that produces drones and warriors and such to fight. Definitely just probably not a good plan to start off on, but this fight should still be somewhat easy. So here we are actually in the game. This is the combat portion of the game, so we haven't actually seen the full solar system, and when that time comes I will explain what's going on. But here we are. So this is our ship right here in the middle. At the bottom we've got some special abilities down here, as well as some options and combat speed. Up here in the top left you'll see we've got our hull health, we've got our shield health, and we've got some power distribution options here. So we can we've got weapons, shields, and movement or engines, and we can kind of alter these to increase power to certain systems based off of where we need it. So definitely a pretty neat function. Say I want to lower my engines and raise my firepower, I can do that all with the push of a button. I'm of course using the ZXC keys to do this, and then if you hold shift you can take away, and then C to add, or you can just add and take away and it'll kind of just distribute it itself. This is supposed to kind of manage itself, but through the gameplay I did, I noticed it needed to be microed a little bit, but not a whole lot. So right now we are paused, and that is because, like I said earlier, this is turn-based. At least the combat is turn-based. So when you're here in the combat area, you're actually going to set all your orders, and then it's going to complete a turn, and all your orders you set are going to be completed. So basically we're going to set a movement right now. Now after we've set our movement, we can go through and set some type of fire and different kind of fire I guess options. So we've got the different weapons on here. We've got a spread shot, an energy blaster, and a gravity lance, and each different type of weapon is good for certain things. So spread shot is good for taking down smaller ships. You've got an energy blaster, which is good for taking down shields, and a gravity lance, which is good for damaging the hull of ships after you've busted through the shields. Then you've got auto fire, which basically means that the computer will kind of select for you what to shoot at. You've got fire at selected ships, so you can kind of take more control of what's going on and choose different ships you want to target. Fire at an exact point, so if you just want to shoot in a random direction somewheres and hope that you hit multiple things. And then hold fire, which means you don't shoot at all. Now you can see that there's different ranges, and I guess we'll go for the energy blaster since that's the only weapon that's somewhat in range. And actually, yeah, we'll go for a fire selected ships and try to hit this guy here. So here we go. There we go. So damage, we did 6,300. It's got energy absorbers resist energy, so it's actually kind of resisting a lot of our damage that we're using, especially since it looks like he doesn't actually have any shields. However, we weren't really in range to do anything else, so let's kind of curve around this way and take another shot at him. I'd like to get in range with the gravity lance, but as you can see, we're just not even close yet. So we're gonna go for the energy blaster, since that is the only weapon right now in range. There we go, doing a little bit more damage. He deployed some fighters here, no big deal. We can also deploy our own fighters if we want to using these special abilities, but I won't worry about that just yet. Let's move across. Let's actually go up a little bit, and we'll use the gravity lance here and fire at him with that. There we go, and just blew him to pieces. All right, now I think we're gonna increase. Let's see. Let's get. Slower engine a little bit, shields a little bit, and get firepower increased up there, because we're going to punch a hole through these guys. So we're going to curve around this way using our gravity lance and go straight for this guy. And there you go. So we did 18,000 damage. We took 99,000 shield damage, which is pretty rough, but not too bad overall. And if we actually take a look at this guy, we did a little bit of damage, but not a lot, because he has 400,000 shields. So what we're actually going to want to do, let's see, if we hold shift, we can kind of set a course here. So let's kind of come up straight and then curve back down like that. And then we're going to do a gravity lance. No, I'm sorry, the energy blaster, and try to take this guy's shields down. There we go. And as you can see, we did 134,000 shield damage as opposed to the only like 60,000 gravity lance damage we did. And 100,000 to the other ship as well. Let's pull our weapons down just a little bit now. And bump our shields up since we are dipping low in shields. Increasing our shields will help, our shield power will help us resist damage a little bit more, as well as increase the shield recharge rate. So that's why it can be very important to do that. Let's kind of curve up here now. And we're going to go with another energy blaster shot. Same exact ships. Hopefully hit both of them. Looks like we did a little bit of damage to that one. 183,000 to that one there, though. He's got 88,000 shields left, so this should be the last time around. Let's cut up straight this way. And do it again. There we go. And so our shields are down as well as our hull, but so isn't his shields, which is very good. Let's lower our weapon a little bit, increase our shields just a little bit more. Now let's take a look at our special abilities down here, since we are starting to dip down into our hull. So we've got consume lasers, which I actually don't even know what that does. Let's see. It just looks like it emits a protective blast that destroys incoming shots. And for 5 turns, each laser shot that hits your ship causes your ship to gain an attack bonus that lasts for the rest of the battle. Very neat. We got a Giga Cannon, which does roughly 66,000 damage at wherever you shoot at. We've got Clean Up on Aisle 3. Fires a wave of concussive shots to smash floating debris down to size. Does almost no damage to ships, so nothing too useful there. Stunner, which stuns all small and medium ships, yours and your enemies, within range 800 of all your flagship, or of your flagship for 10 turns. And they continue moving on their current course, so that's not too bad. Operation Swarm, so we can deploy a squadron of 30 swarm pirate interceptors as an escort. And then Emergency Shield Repairs, which is very useful. So can only be used when you have at least 10% hull health. Damages your hull by 5%, but brings your shields up to full power. Let's do the Operation Swarm there. That's going to take up a turn, but it does get us a lot of ships out there to cause some distraction, which is very good. We're then going to turn up this way. And how's our shields looking on this guy? Shields are completely empty, so we're going in with a gravity lance. 51,000. We're going to hit him with a gravity lance again. Come over this way. There we go. Took him straight out. Okay, now let's curve around this. We're going for a wide curve here. And we'll use our energy blaster. Try to drop this guy's shields a little bit. And while we're doing that, why don't we increase our movement just a little bit so we can get right around here. But keep going for this energy blaster shot. 154,000 shields. He's only got 33,000 left. There we go. So we've took down his shields completely. Now we're going to come close over this way so we can get in range of our gravity lance. Okay, and it looks like one more shot with the gravity lance will end this up here. There we go. All wrapped up. Combat has ended, and we pretty much warp straight out of there. So there's a couple things to take note from this. The first thing is that our hulls, shields, and all of our ammo will be replenished after every combat. So you don't have to worry about going back and doing any of that because all of it's going to be replenished. Now we're going to hit the end combat button down here, and we're going to get kind of a little screen here that tells us some of the statistics of the combat as well as what we end up with at the end. So you can kind of see here the Thraxian lost 10 base power, 28 effective power, and 1 armada in the fight. We used our Operation Swarm 1 time, took a total of, here's our totals of damage we took, 23 hostile ships. There's some facts here you don't really need to know, but some of the most important things you need to take notice of are the bottom things, and that is that the credit we gained. So by destroying enemy ships, we gained 151 credit, and credit is essentially, it's a currency. It's not really like money. It's more of like a diplomatic currency that you can use as like diplomatic points that you can use to spend on certain things. And we'll get more into that later. Now, the next thing to take note of is the influence. So the Thraxians, which is the race that we just thought, hate our guts right now, mainly because we jacked their ship away from them and flew away with it. So negative 100 influence with them, and then -2, so they disapprove of us for blowing up their ships. And then this action took 45 solar months, or technically 9 seconds of relative time. So the whole game is kind of like on a time scale, and it doesn't mean it took 9 seconds for me to do that combat. It just means that per game time, it was 9 seconds of relative game time. All right, so we're going to close out, and here we are actually in the universe. So let's take a look around and see what we've got. All right, so we've got a couple different races here, a couple different planets. Very interesting. Some ring worlds, which is new to this update here. That's very awesome. Looks like a black market up there. Here's our destroyed homeworld. So this used to be our homeworld here. Now it's destroyed. And there's a lot going on here, so do not feel overwhelmed right off the bat, because I know it can be overwhelming. There's all sorts of numbers, there's all sorts of icons and just random things going on, and you're probably like, what the hell is this about? What is going on? Why is there so much shit? I promise I'll go over it and explain it all as it becomes relevant. But the most important thing you need to know is that this planet right here, and particularly this race, the Thraxians, they're spacefaring right now. So if we actually look at these other races, none of them are in space yet, and that's what this timer is. So not yet spacefaring. Once this timer counts down to 0, these races will become spacefaring and they will join us in the stars. But as for now, the only race that is spacefaring is, of course, us, and then the Thraxians, which have also reached space. So when a race becomes spacefaring, a bunch of more options kind of open up here, and like I said, we'll explain a lot of these later on down the road as they become relevant. But another thing to take note of is this right here. This icon is your influence. So influence can range from positive to negative. As you can see right now, we're negative 102 with the Thraxians, which is very bad. It means they hate us and they have no interest in joining a federation or even hardly talking to us or negotiating with us. And there's different things we can do to raise that, but I don't think we're going to be trying to raise influence with the Thraxians, because once they dip this low, though it is possible to do, with a race like the Thraxians, who are already very difficult to please, it's really not worth my time, and it's going to be probably more beneficial for me to just wipe the Thraxians from the face of existence than to actually try to spend tons of hours trying to convince them that I'm friendly after jacking their ship and they should join my federation. So it's really not going to be worth it. So the Thraxians are definitely going to be a big enemy for the rest of the game. And that's kind of unfortunate, because the Thraxians are extremely powerful and may have been somewhat decent allies. And it's going to be difficult for me to gather everybody up together to fight them off. So we've got a couple other different races here. We've got the Burlus, which are like another warlike race similar to the Thraxians. They're very big on honor and tradition and warmongering. We've got the Acutians, which is like is basically like robot CEOs who run this planet. So it's just a big corporation planet. They're amoral, they're evil for the most part, or not essentially evil, but they don't care about anything. They're in it for the money, they're in it to win, and that's pretty much all for them. And we've got the Andors over here, which is a peaceful robot race. They're very peaceful. They try not to get into confrontation if at all possible. We've got the Brarian. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the planet. We've got the Pelsians. So the Andors, the Pelsians. Okay, I'm gonna butcher a lot of these names probably. So we've got the Pelsians here. They're like an owl-like race, I guess. They're very friendly. They're weak, but they get along with pretty much everyone. They'll probably be the easiest to get in the Federation for the most part. Then we've got the Borines. They're kind of solitary. They really keep to themselves, somewhat warlike in a way. They'll get aggressive, but they're not always aggressive. Generally low populations on any planets they settle. We've got the Skylaxians here. The Skylaxians are very they're very big on diplomacy and science. So they're very good at going around and talking to other races and convincing the other races to do certain things, as well as science. And then we've got the Evuks here. The Evuk, yeah. So we've got the Evuks here, and they're they're very sciencey, and for the most part they don't like war. They like keeping to themselves as well. So like I said, the Thraxians are probably definitely out of the question for being in the Federation. The Borlus are extremely hard to get in the Federation, but I may need to get them there, because I'm going to need somebody to kind of contend with the Baraxians here. But yeah, so here we are in the screen starting out the game, but we are out of time for this episode. I don't want to get too deep into anything else because I know if I do, then this will end up going on for another 10-15 minutes as I go through and explain things. So not an extremely eventful episode. However, we did go over some of the gameplay mechanics, as well as saw a little bit of combat right there off in the beginning. So the next episode I'll go through and kind of explain what's going on up here and up here at the top, as well as we'll start communicating with some of the other races here and beginning our quest to create the last Federation. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time.